All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome. It is December 27th, 2020. You guys are here with A to Z Options. We're going to make a rundown here on what's been going on in the market here recently, what's out there that's making money, and what could potentially be done in the future. So we've got Ronnie out in Chicago on the line. Say what's up, Ronnie.
What's going on, everyone? Happy holidays and New Year. And we got a special gift from DJ Trump today with that signature.
All right, but before we get going, we just also got to let you guys know this is not investment advice. We are not investment advisors. We hold no registrations or licenses. And you may find that we may actually not even know what we're talking about. So without further ado, let's get going.
All right, what do we got first on this?
Yeah, so first let's just break down what was going on here in the past week. We had last week on Sunday, you had the passing of the stimulus bill. And it was a sell the news type of event with the market actually gapping lower on Monday morning. And then there was a strong recovery into the day. And a lot of that recovery was driven by the banks. So there was some notice that came out that the banks could restart their buybacks. And as such, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Goldman's on Monday, they were really strong and were throughout the rest of the week. So that really helped keep the market afloat. We saw tech, they were pretty strong as well. There was some interesting news that came out early in the week on Tuesday that Apple may be getting into the electric car business, potentially as a rival for Tesla. So that helped it gap up. And if Apple gaps up and is strong, then the market's strong.
Just real quick, does it feel like back in a few years ago when everything was going blockchain in their name, or they were just associating with it, and now all of a sudden it's all the EV talk? Everyone wants to be EV.
Yeah, it's possible, but I don't think we've seen the crazy moves, because what was it? You had like Overstock back then. I think they were talking about something. They just threw the word blockchain into a news release.
Yeah.
And then they ripped higher. So I don't think that it's that crazy yet. I know you're all into some of those EV names.
Yeah, and we'll get into some of those later, specifically like QuantumScape and something in China. It's called e-hang. I was told by a friend who we'll have later on at a different time to talk about that. But just briefly, it's electric helicopters. But back to you.
All right, yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with the big boys, the name brand features out there. We'll have Ronnie out there. He'll be kind of dealing with some of the chatter that's out there, FinTwit, these low-key names, these hype or meme stocks that are out there. So let me just run through some of these big names, some of the big boys. So we talked a little bit about the SPY. So QQQ, it was similar, gap down, then chopped sideways the rest of the week. It was a holiday week. It was shortened, and that could give opportunity if you want to come in and you want to collect some premium, selling some iron flies. That worked out decently well this week, pinned at around 369. So there definitely was opportunity there, which was taken. Now let's take a look at Facebook. If you're looking at a weekly Facebook, it's just going sideways. If you go back and look even farther, looking at a 6 month on a daily, Facebook has just been chopping around. I would suggest for myself personally, I'm going to stay away from Facebook. This just is showing that it's just in the middle of range. If you ever see anything that's going to start to move higher or lower, then I think you could look at making a move. But for now, that just to me looks like it's a no-go. Now, Apple, we talked about it. That looks to be the strongest name amongst the classic FANG plus Tesla stocks. So with Apple, once they did the stock split, it was at an all-time high. Here it's marking at 138. It's just chopped around and gone sideways for several months. And we've just now started to break out and look to be reclaiming back to that all-time high. So once we took out 130, it looks like we're set and we're going to 138 at least. And that's something that definitely we're in, looking out into January. We got call
Can,
butterflies.
can we get like a prediction you're thinking on highs of Apple?
Yeah, like I said, just targeting short term. I think the easiest thing is going to be we're looking at getting back to the all-time high, so 138. And how could we structure that out? I'm definitely going to be looking at buying some in-the-money call verticals and using that to finance long call butterflies. So I'll be buying out into January like a 130, 150, 170 and trying to use weekly proceeds as well as buying some out of the monies further out in time. Not necessarily to see that we're going to be going to that, but we're in some Feb 160s and just seeing if we can collect some profit on that and using that to really help finance those call butterflies. What do you think about Apple?
I'm long Apple, always have been. I don't think they can do any wrong, and they're just going to keep accumulating cash on hand, and they're going to just keep taking market share. I think as more people just get stuck in their ecosystem, like myself, I'm trapped. I can't get out. I'm a blue bubble. So I know you're not about that life, but there's too many people who are, and too many people who want to be.
Yeah. What I would say is Apple's been struggling when it comes to the actual tech that they've been coming out with, but if they've been on the sides just saving up all their resources and investing in building an electric car, then they may be out there to make something special. But let's just keep going. We'll take a look next at Netflix. Again, this is something that's been chopping around sideways for several months. There was a gap back in mid-October, and that just recently got filled, and then it's pulled right back. But I think we keep an eye on 535. If we see that we're going to take out 535, then I think we got to be looking at targeting somehow in a play up to 550. Let's pull up Amazon. Amazon is just a mess. This has been going sideways for several months, right around 3,200. That's a real nice place right there. Unless we see some true confirmation of movement, we're just collecting premium on 3,200 iron flies. That seems that's going to be a reasonable idea. Microsoft strong. This looks more like Apple's chart. Looks more likely like it wants to get back up to its all-time highs, 232. So if we start seeing just continued strength in the market, which it looks like there is going to be as of now, market is set to move up 20 points on the ES and it's about 70 on the NASDAQ. So if this sticks, then I'd say getting long Apple, getting long Microsoft, those are going to be a couple of things we're going to be looking at. Let's pull up Tesla real quick. Tesla, this was added to the S&P 500 on Monday, and what ended up happening was we had a pullback, and it was an interesting pullback. If you're looking on the daily, on a daily chart, it came down and had a perfect touch right at its 20. So clearly there's momentum or short-term traders who are in there. They're keeping an eye on it. They just had their buys set and they just pinged it and it's pulled right back up. So I think as long as Tesla stays above 650, it looks good. I think staying long. Let's take a look at some of the chips. NVIDIA, classic name, but for the past 3 to 4 months, this has just been going sideways. I would avoid that. Google's interesting. Had some negative news with antitrust suits that are coming out with some states here in the country, and it had a nice pullback. You could see that it's just hovering right around its 50, which is also the top of a gap. I'm personally not looking at this in any way as something I'm trying to pick up, but I'm actually keeping an eye on it because if there's any further weakness in Google, we see that it takes out the 50 and starts to trend below 1,700. I think targeting towards its bottom gap at 1,650 is going to be worthwhile. So that's really me going through most of FANG plus Tesla. What I also do want to pull in is Shop, because Shop has been really interesting here in the past week. So they had a real nice move above its all-time high, took out 1,200. And that was a signal that looked like maybe we need to be looking at getting long. So getting long Shop for next week. That was a nice play, getting along a 1200, 1300, 1400 call butterfly. That was a solid $5 that was made on that. So it's an interesting move that Shops had. It was even more interesting because the next day you had a big red candle that almost took back, if not did take back, that entire move. So usually you got to be careful with that kind of setup, because if you see that happening, that could just mean that there's a buyer shut off type situation when the red candle was engulfing the green candle. And we got to keep an eye out, because if there's any weakness, that could easily set up for below 1200 is a clear sign that you could just look at some shorts. If it stays above 1200, I think you just got to look at it possibly just going sideways, if not higher. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Ronnie, see what you got to say.
Yeah, from what I'm getting at and what I want to tell the people is that the thematics are in place still, and that is e-commerce, tech, stay at home. Those are here to stay. That's our future, and that's where we're heading even further. So with Shop, I would say just keep buying, keep running with it if you're not already in it. Personally, not as advice, but for myself, that's the way I'm going to think about it and go forward with it. I just wanted to go over real quick. I was just going to go over the FinTwit, which is people on Twitter who have accumulated a lot of followers who are talking about different stocks. Typically, they're around growth stocks. So that's mainly what I'll be focusing on. But I just wanted to give a quick blurb that at Kermit Capital said, and it was about MasterCard releasing pulse measuring overall retail sales and in electronic e-commerce sales year-over-year growth. And not surprisingly, home improvement and furniture sales were at their highest levels, 31 and 71% year-over-year, versus in the retail sector, these products were only 14 to 6%. So even for these big purchases, big, bedding, beds, couches, whatever it is, they're buying it online, getting that shipped home to your home. So going further in the future, I could see that sticking. Then we got our
take a look at Restoration Hardware. Back in March, it hit a low of 73, and just recently it hit a high of 494. When it comes to staying at home and buying furniture, people look to be buying it, and they're buying the expensive stuff.
Yeah, Restoration Hardware is not cheap by any means, and there's also the other plays like Wayfair, which has the lower end, more consumer friendly, and all the way up. And then there's Home Depot and Lowe's, of course, for the home improvement side. So all interesting plays. I actually remember when Restoration Hardware was like $30. I think you remember that too. And we were joking about how's this even $30? So going on, we got Peru Sexana. This guy's pretty popular on FinTwitter. He's right now talking about, or at least very recently, about Ozone. This is the Russian e-commerce.
What's the ticker on that?
That's OZON. So this has been getting a little bit of hype, not as much as, say, JMIA, but JMIA was the big dog that got pumped all the way up to 42, I think it is now. So that was first, and then Ozone came out. And this is a Russian-based stock with e-commerce. So I don't know, could be fake news, but if it makes money, why not?
All right, so you got OZON. That's something that you're looking at. You said JMIA, JMIA. What are you thinking about JMIA?
Very long on JMIA, especially because the OG, and if you don't know who the OG is, that's Ophir Gottlieb, recommended this, and it actually popped up on the Thinkorswim at the bottom, that news area, that he was long on that. And even before that on Twitter, he posted about it. So I would say JMIA, it's getting picked up by everybody in very recent months.
Yeah, if you take a look at JMIA's chart, this thing, it's just gone crazy here in the last couple of months. I don't know. To me, when I see something just going vertical and then vertical again, I'm always a little bit wary that it may just need to be filling in and going sideways for a bit. So that's my personal thought. But you
Yeah.
never know. Sometimes you just have these things that just continue on just with a parabolic move. But I think if you do see any sort of pullback and then you see people buying it back up, then I think that's definitely a name to keep on the list.
Yeah, and if you look on like weekly charts, it's been seen where JMIA has had pullbacks and then just gets bought right back up. So anytime there's a dip that I've seen into the 20s with that, it's been a clear buy for me. So I'll be holding on to what I got and adding more on any significant dips.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, I think we should start wrapping this up. This was our intro. We hope everyone out there enjoyed the show. We'll be looking at making this a little more regularly, breaking down what it is that's going on and what our thoughts are on it. But before we go, one last thing I think we just got to just bring up just quickly is GameStop. GameStop, we all know what it is. It's a store that we used to always go to. Maybe we still go to it. Maybe your kids go to it.
Yeah, I remember just going in to look at stuff, not even buying it.
Exactly. This has been interesting in that it's had a big move here in the past month. It's reclaimed some pretty nice highs back at 20, but it's ran up from 12 to 20. And even online, if you're scouring the forums, scouring Reddit, you'll find there's people out there making millions.
Darling right now.
That's right. So this is hot. GME, GameStop. This is what it's doing all day for these kids who are out there buying those options. That sucker is just printing. When I'm looking at the chart, seeing what it is that it's done, it's been able to recover here this 20. I honestly think that there's a chance this bad boy just may continue going further.
Yeah, I keep hearing chatter that Ryan Cohen, who is the founder, I believe, of Chewy, and he is a significant investor into GME, and he is going to buy even more. So shorts have been warned.
Yeah.
If that is true.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. If you're out there, you just want to spin the roulette wheel, that may be one to be looking into. So with that, thanks, Ronnie. Thanks for being here. And thank
it was
you
nice talking to you guys.
Yeah, thanks you guys for listening. Hopefully we'll have this going a little more regularly. And with that, play the outro, and we'll see you guys.